Welcome. My name is Amanda Backus, and I'm the director and founder of the Vaughan Relationship Centre. In this video, we will discuss discernment counseling. Discernment counseling is a very specific type of therapy to help couples decide whether they want to stay in their relationship or if they would like to separate. Separation is a very big decision. It takes a lot of thought, and this therapy is very effective in helping couples decide the right path forward for them. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at the Vaughan Relationship Centre.
So before we do that, I'll let you know who we are. The Vaughan Relationship Center, we specialize in working with relationships, not just couples. We also work with individuals. So if you're an individual thinking, I'm not sure if I want to stay in my relationship or not, you can reach out to us and we can help you work through that. We also work with families, and we also work around different relationships such as families and work relationships as well. All of the team members are trained in relationships, and we've been supporting clients in person and online since 2016. Like I said, everyone is trained and everyone has at least 10 to 25 years experience working in the field. Before we get into the structure of discernment counseling, I want to start with why this matters and what we're doing here. So when a relationship is in crisis, most couples don't know exactly what they want to do. Some can feel very overwhelmed. Like I said, they don't know what to do next. They may feel pressure to fix things. They're not sure if they want to stay or leave. And a lot of times, this can leave people feeling not only overwhelmed, but scared, disconnected, and sometimes exhausted. They're just stuck. And a lot of times, couples are stuck in this place for years and they just don't know what to do. And they don't know what feels like the best option for them and their family. And sometimes that collides. What's best for their family is not in the best interest of themselves. Sometimes in relationships, think something happens, and then there's one person who's hoping to repair things, and then the other person is like thinking about separation. And when that's happening, everybody feels like they might be walking on eggshells. They don't know what to do next. There could be silence. There could be arguments happening in the home. But this is happening because there's such a level of uncertainty. And then when you're in it and you're in the midst of it, it's very hard to make thoughtful, grounded decisions about your future. So that's where we come in and we try to support you in helping you decide what's the right step for you. It's not about fixing the relationship right away. It's about slowing things down and reducing the pressure. And we're giving you both a space to understand what's really happening so you can choose the next step with clarity and not fear. So, we're going to talk about what the process is like and how we can bring a sense of direction back into your relationship so it feels less chaotic. In discernment counseling, we talk about something that's called a mixed agenda couple. What does that mean? That means we have two people who are working in therapy and have different goals. One is the leaning in partner who wants to work things out, and we have the leaning out partner who's ambivalent about moving forward. It's really important to understand these roles and how they impact the current dynamic for a couple. The leaning out partner is one who's unsure if the relationship should continue or even if it can be resolved. They're often emotionally withdrawn, cautious, or burned out from trying to repair things in the past. What we often see is that somebody has been saying something over time, they've been trying over time, and the other person has missed it. When this happens, it leaves the leaning out partner feeling hopeless that change can even happen. On the other side, we have the leaning in partner, the partner who wants to preserve the relationship, and they're often really anxious and sometimes panicked. So, what they tend to do is make a lot of promises and saying, if you stay in the relationship, I'll do this, that, and the other for you. And they make these promises where the leaning out partner goes, I've heard this before. And those changes never happened. And so this is what creates that dynamic and cycle between the couple. And that cycle leaves them stuck on how to move forward. What's important to note here is that neither position is right or wrong. It's very normal. But each person has different emotional needs, and it's mismatched for couples therapy because in couples therapy, we need a common goal. What's different about discernment counseling is that the therapist can work with each person on where they're at, alleviating pressure, but helping them gain some clarity on what the next step should be. So, what is discernment counseling? Discernment counseling is a very structured process, anywhere from 1 to 6 sessions. You are only committing to one session at a time. So, after the first session, we decide, is a second session appropriate? And if so, we continue on, but it is up to 6 sessions. Discernment counseling is not like couples therapy. Like I said, it's very structured, and it's meant to help couples decide how they want to move forward. It could be if they want to separate, if they want to do couples counseling with divorce or separation off the table, or if they want to remain status quo. Also, in discernment counseling, we're looking at slowing things down, helping couples understand how they got to this point in their relationship. Each partner looks at their part of how they contributed to the breakdown of the relationship, and then together they decide what the next step should be. Unlike couples therapy, discernment counseling is very directive, and it's a quicker pace. And sometimes you might find the therapist can be sometimes a little bit abrupt. They don't explore history as much because we're really just focusing on gaining insight on what's transpired, helping you understand the patterns, and then deciding what comes next. So, discernment counseling is just like kind of putting a pause button and saying, hey, we don't know what the decision is, but let's just look at how we got here and what's everybody's contribution. And then from there, we can decide what the next steps are. So you might be asking, okay, I understand what you said, you got the breakdown, but really what happens in these sessions? So we meet with you together to understand what transpired in your relationship, what caused the relationship to break down and get to this point. Then also understanding why you've continued in this relationship. Maybe you've continued all this time because of your kids. Maybe it's because of finances. Maybe it's cultural or family stuff that you've stayed. Or maybe it's simply you have hope for the relationship, you have hope for your partner, and you've just been hoping for things to change and you love them. We also look at concerns you might have for the future about either moving forward or separating. In separate meetings, we meet with each person and we talk about each person's contribution to the breakdown of the relationship. More often than not, we hear people saying, well, it's the other person. If the other person behaved differently, then I would behave differently. And while that may be true, you're also contributing to the breakdown, and there's some responsibility on your part on how you have interacted in the relationship. So some examples could be simply just not speaking up soon enough. Just like, okay, they'll change, things will change, things will change. And then all of a sudden saying to your partner, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And your partner is feeling blindsided by that. Maybe you should have spoken up sooner. Or maybe you have been speaking up, but the communication wasn't clear and it just didn't land with your partner. So part of couples counseling could be, if you choose to move forward, is to understand your communication cycle and how to change that so that when you do ask for something, it can land. Sometimes it's how their temperament is impacting you. And while there might be lots of good reasons for why you react a certain way, there's also responsibility that you need to take on how you've reacted and walking away and saying, do I feel proud of that interaction? And if you don't, then that's where you would need to take some responsibility and go, okay, I own it. And letting your partner know is like, yeah, I get it. I could have done that differently. Maybe it's just not being supportive with the kids, or maybe you're too busy with the kids and not supportive to your partner, or maybe in conversations you've walked away instead of resolving it. All of these things are very normal in relationships, and everybody behaves certain ways for a reason. But at the same time, it's about taking responsibility for your own actions and how you've behaved in the relationship. Now, you may choose not to continue with this relationship. You might say, at the end of discernment counseling, I still want to leave. But what's really great about the discernment counseling process is learning about how you've interacted in the relationship, taking that responsibility, and learning how to do different, because you will probably find another relationship and you don't want to repeat these patterns. So it's a really good idea to learn what you have done, how you can grow, and how you could do differently in a different relationship. Again, in discernment counseling, you're committing to one session at a time, up to a maximum of 6. After each session, you're going to discuss whether another discernment counseling session is necessary because you haven't made a decision yet, or if you have come to a decision, then it's of one of 3 paths. It is to remain status quo, and status quo might be, I'm not ready to separate, but at the same time, I don't have it in me to do couples therapy, and things can just stay status quo for the next little while until we can make a decision. Sometimes it's, we've come to this place, even though we've hurt each other, that, I think separation is the best path forward. And a lot of times when people take this path and done discernment counseling, people separate more amicably. Another option would be to do couples therapy for 6 months, making that commitment that you're going to work on the relationship and try to improve things that you've discussed in discernment counseling. And divorce is off the table for those 6 months. Nobody's going to be saying, if you don't improve, I'm leaving. There's no threats of leaving. It is, I'm making a commitment to work on this relationship and repair things for 6 months, and you're going to attend sessions weekly or biweekly. One of the questions we get asked by a lot of couples is that, can the person who did the discernment counseling continue working with them in couples therapy? Often it's fine, sometimes it's not, so you would need to discuss it with the therapist if they're able to continue on with you. Let's walk through how discernment counseling is structured. Again, it's short-term counseling to a maximum of 6 sessions. Our first session, we'll meet together for 15 minutes, and this is usually to just, again, discuss the process, make sure everybody's on board, and then we also discuss like what's confidential, what's not confidential, etc. Then we meet with each person individually for 30 minutes to determine whether discernment counseling really is the best fit for you, or whether you need actual couples counseling, or if somebody's already really made the decision that they're done, then there's no point in moving forward. More often than not, after the first session, couples decide they do actually want to do couples counseling. They are both ready. They both want to work on it. It's just a little bit of fear and anxiety, and so we could just move forward to the next step. But if you do need an extra discernment counseling session, we'll go into session 2, which is much longer. We spend about 45 minutes with you as a couple, understanding more about your relationship, what contributed to the breakdown. Then we meet with each individual for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then bring the partner back for a 5-minute debrief, and then we switch to the other person, have a conversation with them for 30 to 40 minutes, and then bring the partner in for another debrief, and then at the end decide what the next steps should be. This is about a 2 to 2.5 hour process. We have found that this works more effectively online than in person, but we can do this in person because a lot of people do ask for it. We just want to caution you that there is a lot of waiting around, and a lot of times people rather just be at home doing these sessions because they could take that 40 minutes to do something else. And then if we still need to continue doing more discernment counseling sessions because we're not quite there yet, we don't know what the decision is, then we'll do the last 3 to 6 sessions as needed. And each of those sessions are 90 minutes. The structure is still the same. We just do a quick check-in at the beginning for about 20 minutes, then meet with each person individually with a debrief in between. Discernment counseling was created by the Doherty Institute by Bill Doherty, and in his research, he found that about 12% of couples chose path 1, status quo, after doing discernment counseling. 41% chose path 2, which is separation. And of those 40%, he found more often than not that people separated amicably. And 47% of people chose path 3 out of 100 cases. And of those people who chose couples therapy, he followed up 2 years later and found that at least 40% of them were still together after doing discernment counseling. So you may be wondering, why not just do couples counseling? If it's almost a 50% chance that I'm going to end up there anyway, why not just start there? Why waste my time with discernment counseling? And discernment counseling will not be a waste of your time. Instead, it will help fast forward couples therapy. What, as we discussed, discernment counseling does is that it clears out the emotional fog before therapy even begins. Instead of starting from a place of crisis and a defensive stance, you're going to start in a much stronger place after discernment counseling. With discernment counseling, you've already done the groundwork. You've looked at what everybody's contributions are, you reflected on yourself, you're taking responsibility. Each of you is taking responsibility, which reduces a lot of the defensiveness that comes up in couples therapy, and that can help you make progress much more quickly in couples therapy. So when you enter couples therapy, you're going to enter in a much calmer, clearer place and more willing to engage in honesty. And finally, there's a shared commitment to move forward. You've already decided. You've cleared out the clutter of deciding, should we stay, should we not, right? You are in a place of commitment and going, you know what, I'm going to work on this with you, and I'm putting in all my energy and effort into this, and you're both on the same page, and couples therapy can feel safe. Like I said at the beginning, our team is here to support you. Our team is highly trained and trained in working with you through the discernment counseling process. If you'd like to get more information, please reach out to us at the Vaughan Relationship Centre.